Good morning, NFC East. For those of you who tune in this show to hear a recap of the Philadelphia Eagles, I don't know what else to tell you right now. The Philadelphia Eagles are 12-1. They have the highest scoring offense in the NFL. And like what Darius Slay told me yesterday, they put on a can of whoop ass against the New York Giants. Tone DeShields, your thoughts, my man.
Man, it was exciting to watch. First and foremost, good morning, you guys. Good morning, Jeff. Man, it was exciting because I'm sitting there watching a game, and I told Xander early, just shout out to our other producer, Xander Kraus, VP of JAKIB Sports. I told him yesterday, and I said, this game's going to get out of hand early. I know it will. I feel it in my bones. And lo and behold, the game got out of hand early.
You know, I was thinking to myself the same thing, Tone, right? So there were two things yesterday, and one almost did happen. I'm about an hour before the game, I'm like, there's no way this team beats Philadelphia. There's no way. They might give them a game early because of the weather, but there's no way this team actually beats the Eagles. And the second thing was, there's no way the Houston Texans beat the Dallas Cowboys. Well,
they came close.
One almost happened. And I'll tell you what, if Houston would have beat Dallas yesterday, and again, if they didn't, the Eagles would be so far ahead in the driver's seat for home field advantage in the NFC East. It's not even funny. And they're kind of that they're there now. Think about this, Tone. They're 12-1. There's 4 games left. They have 2 games up on the Vikings and Dallas for home field and the NFC East. Even if the Eagles go 2-2 to finish out the year, Minnesota and Dallas would have to go 4-0. Look, the Eagles' margin for error is huge right now. And if they beat Chicago next week, that game against Dallas ain't going to mean that much, if anything, for Philadelphia. Because I mean, look, the games they're reeling in, Tone. They're reeling in, and the Eagles are doing everything they can to make sure they have everything locked up by Christmas Eve at this point.
Absolutely, and Christmas Eve is going to be one of those highly reviewed games in the NFL. I think it might break records, honestly, but. You know, this Eagles team is taking care of business, and you can't really expect any less when you think about how this team has produced and how they played throughout the season. You know, Jalen Hurts is playing at MVP level. You have A.J. Brown going over 1,000 yards for the season. Miles Sanders going over 1,000 yards for the first time in his career. Devontae Smith did his thing yesterday. I'm pretty sure he has a strong chance of going over 1,000 as well if they continue to feed him. So. Man, you look at all the boxes, this Philadelphia Eagles team is checking. The defense is doing well. The pass rush is starting to come alive better than they have ever before. And I kind of want to talk to you about that, right? I want to approach this, I want to approach this first 20-minute segment, from a different angle. I know we always go offense first usually and talk about the MVP candidate, Jalen Hurts. But, man, let's talk about this pass rush, right now. The pass rush had, 7 sacks yesterday, if I'm not mistaken?
The one that leads the league in sacks now? That pass rush?
All of a sudden, right, overtaking the supposedly the best defensive line in football with the Dallas Cowboys. Who would have thought? But man, Brandon Graham, Jeff, they say he ain't have it anymore.
He doesn't?
That's what they told me.
Okay, I'm just gonna go off on a little bit of a tangent here, just a little bit, since we want to talk about the defense. The supposedly not good defense. I am really starting to believe this. This is the best football team the Philadelphia Eagles have produced in the 90-year history of this franchise. And this is including those dominant teams of 48 and 49. This team has the MVP in Jalen Hurts right now. They lead the league in scoring. Not the Chiefs, not the Bills, not the Cowboys, the Eagles. They lead the league in sacks. They lead the league in passer rating allowed. This team is a top 3 offense and defense in the National Football League. Oh, they're 12-1 and have by far the best record. No one else has 11 wins. The Eagles have 12. I don't know if this team will win the Super Bowl or not because the playoffs are a different animal. But if you're looking right now statistically and on paper, Tone, this is probably the best team in Eagles history. in the 90 years of this franchise. This team is, remember a couple weeks ago, everybody's like, the Eagles aren't dominating. No, they're dominating now. I mean, these games aren't even close. I think they had the biggest point differential in the NFL too. It's almost become a laughing stock of how good this team is.
It's actually gotten boring, you know.
Oh no, they're never boring. Ask Darius Slay. These games are never boring.
That's true. Division games are never boring at all, especially when you're trying to get revenge, right? Especially for James Bradbury. That was a funny interview, by the way. But yeah, man, this defensive line, 7 sacks. It just seems like off the edge, those guys are literally racing to the quarterback. That's how fast the get off is to me. This team is really starting to hit their stride, and at this point, they're starting to play playoff football. I have a hard time believing any team in the NFC can compete with this team at the clip that they're playing at. Dallas has shown chinks in the armor. In my opinion, the quarterback position, he's not really showing himself to be a really solid decision maker during this stretch of the season. I think Dak has like an interception in damn near every game for the past 3 or 4 games or something like that. So, Dak is putting the ball in harm's way. Jalen Hurts is not.
I got a good stat for you on Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott. On throws 25 yards downfield, Jalen Hurts has 11 touchdowns, which is tied for the league lead with Derek Carr, to just 1 interception. Dak Prescott has 5 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. There's your difference. I want to point this out too, Tone. You want to know the real difference between the Eagles and the Cowboys? Miles Sanders was asked, I believe Dave Singaro asked him the question. We were in on the press conference. And he asked him about, the meaning of, I forget how he worded it, but it was like the meaning of having his first 1,000-yard season, and Miles Sanders goes Super Bowl. So Miles went there. Meanwhile, Trayvon Diggs on Twitter last night decided to tweet at the NFL to give him credit for an interception. So you got selfish guys and selfless guys in Philadelphia. There's why the Eagles are better than the Dallas Cowboys right there.
I mean, yeah, the Dallas Cowboys are the type of team to leave in their starters to run it up in the fourth quarter against the Colts. They're built that way. They're designed to be that way. That's the culture of their team. They care more about being seen and not being heard. This Philadelphia Eagles team is focused on a bigger picture. Doesn't it just seem like, Jeff, that the way they're playing, they care significantly more about than just this NFC East. They care more. They care way more about the Super Bowl than just being the team to put up the most points. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't care. They don't care about it. They care about one goal, and their quarterback is why they move that way. It kind of makes you wonder when you have all these players talking crazy and saying all these different outlandish things from the Cowboys side, especially when it's more from the selfish perspective. It kind of makes you wonder, does Dak Prescott have a grip on that locker room as he should? It seems like in Jalen Hurts' locker room, yeah, you have guys that talk a little bit like Darius Slay did yesterday, but he's the savvy veteran.
Does he talk though, or is he just
doesn't really
Darius Slay?
Darius Slay doesn't really talk. He's Darius Slay, but it just seems like these guys always run to Twitter and post something, from the Dallas Cowboys side. It just seems like these guys care more about being seen rather than being heard, man. And, they're not letting their play do the talking. The Philadelphia Eagles are letting their play do the talking, man. This is exciting. They're entering a territory where, in my opinion, the only team that could beat them is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's their loss this year. They beat themselves. I mean, credit to Washington. I mean, I'll tell you what, the Washington Commanders are going to make the playoffs because they beat the Philadelphia Eagles this year. I'm just going to say that out loud. They are going to make the playoffs because they're the one team that can beat the Eagles this year. That's going to be such a huge tiebreaker with that whole NFC wildcard picture coming into focus. And we'll talk about Giants and Commanders later this week because that's a huge, huge, huge game. But if we're looking at the race for home field right now, the Vikings, shout out to the Lions. Darius Slay said that yesterday too. Shout out to the Lions for taking care of the Vikings.
Great point. Vikings lost yesterday. That was huge. We couldn't get a 3 for 3 with the Eagles win, a Dallas loss, and a Vikings loss. But hey, you were 2 for 3. Dallas,
Yeah,
if Dallas did their thing, obviously they came back, but Vikings lost,
if,
Eagles lost. I mean, Eagles win.
if that was lost, this whole thing would be over. NFC East, and not mathematically, but it would be virtually over. The NFC East would be over, and home field advantage is almost like that too. I mean, really, all the Eagles got to do is win 2 games. They win their next 2 games, everything's clinched by New Year's, by Christmas. It's insane. And the Bears are eliminated from the playoffs. I think they're one of only 2 teams from the NFC eliminated from the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. I got to double check that. But, Tone, did you know this? The Eagles are the only team in football to clinch a playoff spot right now.
Yeah, that's true. As of right now, the Chicago Bears are eliminated from the playoffs. The Denver Broncos and the Houston Texans are eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah, so the only playoff team in the NFC is facing the only team eliminated from the playoffs in the NFC next week.
So most of those guys already got their vacation plan set up then. Is that what you're saying?
No, I think the Bears are going to show up next week. But, again, this feels like a Giants game where you take care of business. That's the bottom line. You show up to work. What did Jalen Hurts say yesterday? He says the same thing every week. It's just
he says something. I'm glad you brought that up because I watched that press conference last night, and he says something that stood out to me. He was asked the question about the critics and does he use it as fuel? Does he carry it with him? And his exact words were, "I carry my scars everywhere I go."
Yeah.
That one-liner was so powerful to me because of the simple fact that it was non-controversial, but it made it very known, very clear. He made it very clear to everybody watching. I hear everything, I see everything, and best believe I'm coming for everything that I'm owed. Jalen Hurts is one of those guys. He doesn't say too much, but he says just enough to get a peek behind the curtain. Every now and again, you get a peek behind the curtain with Jalen Hurts. And he just reminds you of how he's built. This man is built like a gladiator. Jeffrey Kerr, are you not entertained?
I'm entertained. I walked right past the man yesterday, and, the guy doesn't even show you a smile on his face. It's the rent is always due with Jalen Hurts. I love the way that man talks, the way that man walks around the room. It's like a Mufasa type presence, right?
Yes.
It's he means business all the time. He can have some fun, but he ain't going to show it. Did you see? I didn't see this till after the game yesterday. A.J. Brown and Quez Watkins are like dancing on the sideline after Brown's touchdown, all fired up. And Jalen's just sitting there like he's pissed off because I don't know if it was because it was cold out or because he's Jalen Hurts, but he looked like he wanted to go out there and just surgically carve up the Giants defense some more. I mean, how do you not like this guy? Period. The guy lives, eats, breathes, sleeps football all day long. And I swear, the Eagles could win the Super Bowl, and I don't think we're going to see a smile on his face. If we do, we might see a little bit. But
that'd be the biggest smile you see, probably.
There's 2 things I keep thinking about in my head now with this team. It's how good is this team? Like we know how good they are, but how good are they going to be when it's all said and done? And is there anybody that can really beat them in the NFC? And I mean, I would have said the 49ers had a shot.
But they lost Deebo Samuel yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. And they lost Deebo Samuel now. Like I said, they would have a shot at Jimmy Garoppolo was hell. They're still really good defensively. My
God, yes.
You cannot ignore what that defense is doing. But if you want to play, they haven't played anybody either. Well, again, Tampa Bay sucks. The NFC South sucks. If they are, so this is how crazy the NFC South is right now. They are a Saints collapse away from all 4 teams being 5-8 in that division. That's insane. That division stinks. Shout out to Howie Roseman because he'll probably end up with the team with the best record in the NFL and a top 5 draft pick in the process.
I hate having to even continue to even talk about how teams haven't played anybody.
No one's played anybody. The league stinks.
Yeah. But I guess I hate that narrative in general because people love to apply it to the Philadelphia Eagles the most. And
They're 5-1 against teams that are currently in the playoffs right now.
I'm with you, Jeff.
And they have the highest scoring margin. I don't know what else you want to sell them short on. How you want to move the goalposts with this team, because I got a stat for everything, Tone. You know that.
That's a fact. You're the what's the word I'm looking for? You're the resident historian for JAKIB Sports.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ruben Frank is for the Eagles beat. I'm just trying to.
Oh, yeah, he's good. Shout out to Ruben Frank from ABC Sports. He's good.
Ruben's the man. I'm telling you what. Between the two of us, I think we're on StatHead all day, just looking up stuff. Like LaShawn, Miles Sanders yesterday. We get 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. By the way, I told Miles Sanders this yesterday. You know, you caught that ball, right? And you know the deep pass that they said.
Yes. Oh my God, that was a catch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, because he said he had to look at the film. I said, you caught it. Like, don't worry about it. You caught it. He's like, I thought I caught it. And I'm like, he said the official said he was bobbing the ball. That was the explanation. I didn't see a bobble there.
That was the equivalent of the Christian McCaffrey catch.
Yes.
They gave Christian McCaffrey the touchdown, even though he slightly bobbled it, but he got both feet in and he secured it. Miles, same thing. Miles only bobbled it at the very end, but the ball never touched the ground. So I didn't.
He was already in the process. He was already in the process of completing the catch at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this Philadelphia Eagles team beat the Giants 44-28. My prediction
44. They scored 48. Tony.
Well, I'm sorry, 48. Jeez.
Don't sell them short.
I don't want to sell. I don't want to sell bird game short. My apologies.
Wait. Where did you get the Giants scored 28 points?
48-22. There it is. 48-22.
And that last touchdown was garbage.
It's funny. I had the Eagles winning 38-17. So, man, they just exceeded those expectations. But let me ask you this though, man. You know, we have about a minute or so left in the segment before our guy Mike Gill gets here from 97.3 ESPN, the Sports Bash in Jersey. We all saw the game Patrick Mahomes had. They won, but we saw the game that he had.
But a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns, but he has many interceptions yesterday as Jalen Hurts has all season.
We saw that as well. We also saw Jalen Hurts do his thing, throwing for over 200 yards, completing around 67% of his passes, if I'm not mistaken. You saw 2 touchdown passes. You saw an accumulation of over 50 yards rushing, like 70 yards rushing.
77 and a touchdown he had.
77 and a touchdown. You saw the efficiency. You saw the dominance. Give Jalen Hurts this MVP, man. This is. I know there are games left, but Jalen Hurts is the clear front runner for the MVP right now. Like, there shouldn't be no debate about it.
I'm just going to say this. This is my number one case for him. Best player on the best team in the NFL. If they clinch home field advantage, and again, it's not like he has to play out of this world, but you expect that out of MVPs. You know, you expect that out of Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, whoever. I mean, to me, Jalen Hurts is 1 or 2 performances like he did yesterday away from wrapping up the MVP award. It's not wrapped up yet, but he's clearly the front runner. It's not even close right now.
So if the Eagles clinch home field, but whenever they clinch it, right? The game they clinch it. Let's say the Eagles clinch home field after they beat Dallas, right? Let's say they do that.
So that means they win their next 2 games.
Exactly. How do you go about resting players entering the playoffs? Because my thought process is this: you play your starters for the first half, and then you sit guys, and then you play the backups the rest of the games. I think that should be the game plan for those final 2 games, because I don't want these guys to come in too sluggish. I don't want them to come in too.
They're gonna have nearly a month off. They're gonna have nearly a month off, so you play guys.
You got to play guys.
You got to play them. I don't know how that's going to happen. I mean, I think they're going to wrap everything up by before the last week of the season. So even if they go 2-1, they still wrap everything up over the next 3. Like, the Bears and Saints are 2 of the worst teams in the NFC, and I have no idea what the Giants are going to be in Week 18. Don't really care at this point. They'll probably be fighting for a playoff spot, but that ain't going to mean anything to the Eagles. So I mean, I guess we'll come to that when it's time to come to that, but I would just keep playing, guys. I keep the momentum going. I don't think there's any reason to slow down now. I think there's an advantage and a disadvantage of being the only team with a bye.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on that note, you guys, we're going to take our first break of the show. We got our guy Mike Gill waiting for us in the green room. It's going to be a super exciting show. It's going to be a super exciting day. A Monday, a victory Monday on JAKIB Sports. We have a whole lineup for you guys, a whole slew of guests for you guys to lock in on. So make sure you guys continue to smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to JAKIB Sports. And also make sure you guys continue to lock in on Good Morning NFC East with Jeff Kerr. And I'm your super producer, Tone DeShields II. Keep it locked, you guys. You don't want to miss this.